You have $94,000 in a brokerage account. A coworker who makes the exact same salary as you has $1,200 total across every account he owns. The difference isn't his job. It isn't luck. It's one decision you made at 26, in a parking lot, with the engine off, and 10 years of being quietly laughed at for it. Rewind. You're 26, sitting in a car you don't own. 3 years into a lease, $410 a month. You do the math on your phone. $14,760 paid. Zero equity. In 18 months you hand the keys back and start the exact same cycle over again. Newer car, longer debt, same nothing to show for it. You sit there a minute, engine off, in your apartment's parking lot. That's the night you decide, buy something used, pay cash, and keep it until it dies. 2 weeks later, a 2014 Corolla on a classified ad. 74,000 miles, one owner, a small dent on the rear bumper the seller swears happened in a shopping center lot. A friend who actually knows cars checks the frame, listens to it idle, drives it around the block. Clean. You pay $9,800 cash. No loan, no dealership finance office, no 5-year note on something that's already losing value while it sits in the driveway. You sign the title and drive home in a car that's fully yours from the first mile. Here's a number almost nobody checks. The average new car payment in this country recently crossed $760 a month. More than 1 in 5 new car buyers is locked into a payment over $1,000. Loan terms are stretching towards 6-7 years, on a vehicle that starts losing value the moment it leaves the lot. Most people will trade it in before it's paid off, roll the remaining balance they still owe into the next loan, and repeat the entire cycle with a slightly newer number attached. You didn't know all of that the night you sat in the lease car doing math. You knew enough to feel the shape of it, so you bought the Corolla. Then you did one more thing nobody saw. You opened a brokerage account and automated $450 a month into a plain index fund. The first of every month, before anything else moved. Not because you'd researched stock picks, because $450 was roughly the gap between what the lease used to cost and what the Corolla actually cost you to run. Monday, the office lot. Your coworker Brett pulls in with a leased truck, deep blue, financed at $611 a month. He mentions the payment the way people mention rent, a fixed cost of simply existing. Still driving that thing? He says, nodding at the Corolla. You say yes. He laughs. Bro, did you lose a bet? A month later, gas station. You're pumping $9 of regular. The man at the next pump, filling a brand new pickup, is on the phone. Yeah, $800 a month. I can barely breathe, he says, then hangs up and smiles at you like nothing's wrong. Year 2. The paint on the hood starts to oxidize, a pale, chalky patch you notice every single morning walking out the door. You don't fix it. At a family dinner, your mother pulls you aside in the kitchen. Your father and I can help with a newer car. Just a little. You hug her and change the subject. Year 3. Brett trades the truck in early, rolls the leftover balance into a 6-year loan on something bigger. He mentions the new payment once, casually, $694 a month. You don't do the math out loud. You do it in your head. He's been making a car payment without a single month's gap for 6 straight years running. Year 4. A work trip. You valet the Corolla outside a hotel lobby full of rental Teslas. The attendant says nothing. You say something anyway, a half joke about the car's age, and regret it instantly. You just apologized, out loud, for a paid-off car with $31,000 quietly sitting behind it, in an account nobody at that valet stand will ever see. Year 5. Your account crosses $57,000. The growth that quarter is larger than everything you personally contributed. You check it maybe once every few months. You don't touch it. This is the part nobody shows you when they talk about financial discipline. They show you the final number. Nobody shows you the 5 years of parking in the back row, of driving past dealerships without slowing down, of watching everyone around you cycle through cars like leased furniture while your own life produces zero external proof that any of it is working. Then something happens that has nothing to do with any of it, and everything to do with why it mattered. It's a Thursday in October. You're at your desk when your dad calls in the middle of the day, which he never does. Your mother's at the hospital. Chest pains. They're running tests. He says it's probably nothing, but his voice says something else entirely. You leave. You don't remember most of the drive. You park in the expensive short-term lot closest to the entrance, and don't think about the cost for a single second. A thought that, a decade earlier, would have stopped you at the gate. You find your father in a plastic chair, in the cardiac unit, still in his work clothes, holding coffee he isn't drinking. You sit beside him. The tests take hours. A doctor comes out once to explain, once to say they're keeping her overnight for observation. Around 9, you buy 2 coffees from a vending machine neither of you finishes. You open your phone, not to check anything specific, just something to do with your hands, and your banking app opens to the brokerage balance, $94,000. 10 years of $450 a month, sitting there the way it's always sat there, quiet, untouched, barely glanced at, and in that plastic chair, under those lights, it means something you couldn't have named at 26. It means that whatever the doctor says in the morning, whatever your mother needs, surgery, medication, months of follow-up appointments, you are not choosing between helping her and making rent. You're not putting anything on a card at 24% interest. You're not calling anyone to ask for anything. The number doesn't make the waiting room warmer, or the coffee less cold, or your father's face less tired. But it's the ground under your feet. Right now, that's everything. Your mother's discharged the next afternoon. Treatable, manageable, serious but stable. Driving your parents home, you think about what that account actually represents. Not the number. The years behind the number. The chalky hood paint. The valet apology. The $450 that moved every first of the month, while nobody clapped, and nothing about it ever felt like it was working. It was working the entire time. You think about Brett, where his 10 years landed him instead. You learn it gradually, the way you learn most things about people you see every day. His current payment is $694 a month. 31 months still left. Before that, it was the truck. Before that, a lease straight out of college. 10 years, 3 vehicles, never once a month without a payment. He's not careless. He shows up, does good work, pays his bills. He just did exactly what the system told him to do, in the order it told him to do it, and a decade later he's standing somewhere he never intended to be. His refrigerator broke back in January, an $1,800 repair that went straight onto a card carrying 24% interest, because there wasn't room in checking to cover it beside the car payment and rent. Paid at the minimum, that single repair will end up costing him closer to $2,400 before it's gone. That's how it compounds on the wrong side. The payment crowds out the savings. The missing savings sends the next emergency onto a card. The card grows interest. The interest crowds out more savings. No single decision breaks a person like that. It's just friction, month after month, with nothing behind him to absorb it. You're spending a fraction of that on transportation, insurance, gas, the occasional repair. The gap between his number and yours, redirected for 10 years, is sitting at $94,000, and it's currently generating more in a good year than you personally put into it. The money crossed the line, quietly, somewhere around year 7 or 8, where it started working harder than you do. The Corolla eventually needs a repair that costs more than the car is worth. Your mechanic tells you plainly, the way he always does. You go to a used lot, find something 3 years old with reasonable miles, and write a check for the full amount without touching the account, without financing a cent of it, without asking anyone for anything. Brett will finance his next car too, not because he's irresponsible, but because he genuinely has no other option left available to him. The system worked exactly as designed. It just designed him into needing the next loan to get the next car, indefinitely. You don't have to do that anymore. And the strangest part, the thing that still catches you sometimes, driving home on an ordinary evening, is that none of it came from earning more, or knowing more, or doing anything complicated. It came from one decision, made at 26, in a parking lot, in a car you didn't even own yet. Which makes you wonder what else might already be quietly building, right now, in a life you haven't stopped to check. If any part of this sounds like your Monday morning parking lot, subscribe to The Money Man, because the next story might be closer to your own than you think.